What's up, everyone? It's Bones here. I hope everyone who celebrates enjoyed their Thanksgiving weekend like I did. And today, I'd like to close out the holiday weekend with a deck I feel should be grateful for some recent indirect support. But before I begin, if you're a fan of in-depth combo videos, new set coverage, and fun stuff that we like to occasionally do on the channel, then bombard those thumbs up and subscribe buttons. And with the Horus Dia Bellstar stuff that we got through the Age of Overlord set, Orcust has become a deck that has a lot more flexibility and stability in what it can do just in terms of going first, making decent enough boards, and having the follow-up through the Wanted stuff, the Horus stuff, to add with the Orcust stuff that makes it just so much better than it was before. And we're going to use the Imseti to get ourselves the King Sarcophagus, draw into the Wanted. We'll then be able to activate the King Sarcophagus, pitching the Dia Bellstar. We did that because we drew into the Wanted, as we're going to send the Happy, special summon back the Imseti and the Happy, and then we can go into our Photon Lord. You can go into number 38. You can also go into the Zombie Vampire, but I wanted to show that you can play around Nib this way, and I will alternate between rank 8s through the video, though I won't use the Zombie Vampire just to not RNG into this, but I also would like to point out that I also normally like into the Zombie Vampire on follow-up turns where you're going for the kill instead of going first, so I'm going to use the effect of the Girsu sending the Orcust Nightmare, and I chose to do test hands, not combo videos, because the 1-2 card combo where you're just using Girsu in order to send yourself the Orcust Nightmare, get the wand, use the effect of the wand, get back the Orcust Nightmare as you see here to go into Galatea. It's just really repetitive stuff, and stuff that I feel a lot of people may know by now, so I just don't want to waste the majority of people who may be watching this time. So we're going to then activate the field spell. We went into the field spell because since we have the quick play in our hand, we can activate the quick play after going into Dingirsu, and then we can get back the Dia Bellstar, special summon out the Dia Bellstar, use its effect on field in order to get ourselves the Silvera, and then we can set the Imperm, go onto our opponent's turn, where at this point, at any point during your opponent's turn, as you see the Econ is drawn, which is also another really cool thing, that with the Dia Bellstar and Horus stuff, you get just enough space to play a bunch of engine and still have the space to play a ton of going second cards. So we're going to use the effect of Orcust Nightmare, getting ourselves the Skeleton. We then can use the Skeleton at any point during our opponent's turn, and what's better about this is that Talents and Thrust are seeing less play, so you're not going to get hit by it as often, which is pretty cool, but if you do, you may have the Orcust Nightmare or the Orcust Crescendo if you happen to draw that, and you also have the Silvera along with the set Imperm or anything else that you may have drawn, like the Econ that you see here. Now for this second one, we're starting again with the Horus and Dia Bellstar stuff, and you'll see that this is a lot of what makes the deck work in my opinion, just because they're all engines that can each do their own thing. For example, if you don't see the Orcust stuff here, what you have the ability to do here is go into the Zombie Vampire and start milling to try to hit it, but because we happen to have the quick play, which can get us into another draw, we get 2 draws, one off the Imseti and one off of the quick play, which gets us into 2 Orcust cards, and we're going to pitch the Bombard, get ourselves the Happy in the graveyard. We'll then be able to get ourselves the 2 Horus monsters on board as we're going to go into Hope. We'll then use the effect of Bombard, which you don't have to do, but you can, as we're then going to use the effect of Girsu sending the Orcust Nightmare, use the effect of Orcust Nightmare, as we'll send the Wand, then we can use the Wand in order to bring back the Orcust Nightmare, go into Galatea, use the effect of Galatea, as this will be able to get ourselves into the field spell. Since we have the Dia Bellstar, we'll be able to do the same thing as we go into the Dingirsu, use the effect of Dingirsu, putting the Bombard back onto it as material, as we'll then use the effect of the Dia Bellstar, use its effect in order to get ourselves the Silvera, as we'll then be able to set the Droplet and end our turn on this with the Dingirsu interruption on our opponent's turn. Now for this next one, we have another cool kind of hand that you can see here where you have the Econ, the Droplet, the Mudora, along with the Imseti, so there's a lot of going second potential here, and we're going to start here by using the Imseti's effect, which will pitch the Mudora, as we're going to get our King Sarcophagus. This is just another really cool thing that this deck has at its disposition, as you have the ability to just get into stuff like Fenrir off of a draw when you have no monsters. You can then activate the King Sarcophagus. This will be able to pitch the extra copy of Fenrir that you search in order to send the Happy. We'll then be able to get into a rank 8, as we're going to go into the Photon Lord number 38, or the Zombie Vampire, depending on whatever you want to go into. We'll use the effect of Girsu as we normal summon it to send the Orcust Nightmare, use the effect of Orcust Nightmare in order to send the Wand, and then we can use the Wand's effect in order to bring bring back the Orcust Nightmare, as we'll then go into the Galatea, use the Galatea, putting back the wand in deck, as we're going to set the Orcust Crescendo, and this is just the flexibility I was talking about, where if you don't have a way to get into your Dingirsu in the graveyard, you just get your Crescendo, and then you start pairing stuff like the Fenrir, the Hope, or the Photon Lord, along with the Crescendo. You have the Enemy Controller and Forbidden Droplet, even the Mudora in graveyard to add more interruptions to that. Now for this next one, we have our first kind of bad hand, but I want to show how a bad hand isn't even terrible, as on the draw phase we're going to activate the quick play. We'll get ourselves the Dia Bellstar. The Dia Bellstar will give us the ability to pitch the Orcust Nightmare, as we're then going to use the effect of the Dia Bellstar to get the quick play because we want the follow-up. We're going to use the effect of Orcust Nightmare getting the wand. The wand can then special summon back out the Orcust Nightmare. We can then go into Galatea, as we'll then use the effect of the wand, or we'll use the effect of the Galatea to put back the wand, get ourselves the Crescendo, then we can set the Book of Eclipse, and just like that, we have two pieces of interaction with some follow-up, and what's cool about the follow-up is that when you get your Dia Bellstar, you can pitch another copy of Orcust Nightmare, or you can pitch the Happy if you see the King Sarcophagus and things like that. Now, for the final hand, before I get onto the deck profile, and you'll see that we happen to hard draw the Skeleton here, and we also have two of the quick play, so again, it's not really a great hand, but it's something that you can definitely work with, as we're going to use the Imseti pitching the Orcust Nightmare, and then we'll be able to special summon out the Fenrir that we draw off of the Imseti, and I would like to point out that can be Droplet, Econ, Imperm, that can also be something like Mudora or one of your other Ishizu cards, so there's a lot of things that you can draw, and we're going to activate our King Sarcophagus, pitching the extra copy of Fenrir, as we'll then send the Happy. We'll get ourselves the 2 level 8, going to go into the number 38, you can go into any of the rank 8s that you want to, as we're going to normal summon the Skeleton, use the effect of the Orcust Nightmare, sending the wand. We'll use the effect of wand in order to get back the Nightmare, as we'll go into our Galatea, use the effect of Galatea in order to put back the wand, as we'll get ourselves the field spell because we have the Dia Bellstar in hand. Galatea as material for the Dingirsu, special summon out the Dia Bellstar in order to get its effect on board, getting our Silvera. We'll set the Dia Bellstar quick play. So with all of the combos out of the way, we can finally get onto the deck profile, and I'll first talk about the counters and some of the options, obviously Shifter being one of them. You also have the Bystials, which can hit your Dingirsu in the graveyard if they choose to hit that. When you don't have your field spell, your Orcust cards become much easier to hit as well. Then there's also Imseti if you don't have access into getting another one into the graveyard. This isn't a Orcust card, so you can't quick play with Babel on board, and that's another possible target that can really hurt you. And of course, there's also the Dia Bellstar stuff. Since you do only play one, this kind of can hurt. With that said, we aren't seeing as many Bystials right now, even though they still are kind of around, making this deck a little bit better, especially without seeing the Talents and Thrust as much, which do happen to be counters. You can also play stuff like Crossout, especially depending on the format, if there's a lot of the same cards in regards to the Horus stuff, Fenrirs, and then things like Droplet that are also played, then Crossout really isn't that bad. You also have the Shifter, which is a counter. The Agido, if you would like to play it, is possible as well. You can go down to 2 Fenrir if you would like to. I just like the ability to be able to draw it as you saw in the test hands. Then I also would like to talk about something like Sharon that you can play, which is another card that gets cards out of your hand while also being able to mill 3. I just don't think that it's really necessary because I wanted to be able to maximize on all the going second cards that we could play, especially considering with how much better board breakers are at the moment, and just being able to play 3 quick plays along with a trap card, and Fenrir being good for going first and second. It just made all the sense in the world to me. Then there's also the Coach King. This is something else that you can play if you would like to play the extra Horus name. Again, I just didn't feel it was necessary. And then there's the third Galatea, which you can choose to play, but I chose not to because I do want to play the Boral Sword. This deck is actually really good at just getting into Boral Sword OTKs. Then I'd also like to talk about some of the ratios and why I don't play the Coach King. I don't play the Coach King because I wanted to be able to fit in all 3 Ishizu names specifically, and you're already playing a fair amount of one-ofs with the Babel, the Crescendo, the Silvera. You also have the Wand, which can be kind of bricky. You have the 3 Orcust Nightmares, which can also be kind of bricky. Same thing with the Happy and your one of Orcust names, so there is kind of a downside downside in that. The plus side to that is that you still do have things like Droplet. You have the Sinful Spoils quick play card to get into your Dia Bellstar so that you can pitch it. You also have your Horus Engine. The King Sarcophagus can send a bunch of those cards to the graveyard as well, so I just think that all of that is cool. But anyways, I'll get onto the card by card, as we have the 1 Babel, the 1 Crescendo, the 1 Silvera, the 3 Girsu, the 3 Imsteady, the 1 Keldo, the 1 Mudora, the 1 Kelbeck, the 3 Fenrir, the 1 Happy, the 1 Skeleton, the 1 Bombard, the 3 Orcust Nightmare, the 3 Sinful Spoils Quick Play, the 1 Dia Bellstar, the 1 Wand, the 2 King Sarcophagus, the 3 Imperm, the 3 Enemy Controller, the 3 Book of Eclipse, and the 3 Droplets to round out the main deck. Onto the extra deck, we have the 2 Dingirsus, which you can either make off of the Horus card or off of the Galatea. Then you have the Photon Lord, Hope Harbinger, Zombie Vampire, Zeus and Typhon, which are just great additions to this deck, as well as the SP Little Knight. Then we have the Masquerena, the 2 Galateas, Longirsu, then we have the Boral Sword, Access Code, and Underworld Goddess to round out the deck profile. So for everyone who's made it this far, I'd like to thank you for watching and for the 600 plus subs. I truly appreciate your support, and now that we've monetized the channel, giving us access to supers and memberships means that more awesome stuff is on the horizon. To get the channel membership, just click on the description below, and there will be a link that takes you there. You'll also notice a free Discord link that I've made for us too. If you want to support me as a content creator, even if you can't donate supers or get a membership for the channel, clicking on those thumbs up and subscribe buttons help a lot too. For those wondering, I do plan on making updates to the channel as the support on the channel grows. Anyways, I hope to see you on the next one. It's Bones, signing out.